within the next year, a year and a half. So, yeah. But it was like he had to clarify that before he could go.
Well, you know, there's a real good point to be made here. I was in the draft lottery 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had a loan number, and I barely made the draft first time around. And I was a total wreck. I was a young man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had no idea what's going on there. Back then, you and I remember every night you come home, watch the news, and all the body bags and the blood and gore they were showing on the news. And I sit down, I was like, wow, I'm going to be dead in a year or two.
Well, that's what he had to decide.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Can I let y'all know that we are live right now, just to let you know?
we didn't know whether we were going to be a hawk or a dove. And there was a movie at the time called Today, and it was all about that.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce and Barn, and kids within the family that you lived with every day.
Well, I'd like to make the statement what this young man here has been going through, garbage about stolen valor. He's never at any time said that he's been in the military, had anything to do with the military, right?
No.
Never.
And what happened was when I confronted John McCain to be arrested for treason, I don't know if you guys remember that video. It went viral everywhere. Somebody uploaded it. We don't know who. We messaged him when he uploaded it. He finally did change the title later on. It said,
I'd like to introduce everybody to Blaine Cooper. We are currently out at the Harney County Resource Center, formerly known as the Mountain National Wildlife Refuge.
which is actually a bird refuge. I don't think people really know how this got built. There was a lot of people who actually killed BLM agents and blew up buildings and buildings. This was built in blood and murder. People on the left got this. And so, to be honest, I think they're unlikely to have anything. But it's gobbled up 100 ranches unconstitutionally and illegally, and now it belongs to Harney County. So we're going to continue to stand our ground. And the big reason we came here as a Hammonds was the injustice that was being done on them. There's a lot of stuff that's coming forward. I don't know when Hammonds planning on releasing it. But audio transcripts of the BLM saying burn that effing Hammond Ranch down, and we had eyewitnesses come forward, and somebody supposedly has video of them drip torching deals to burn the ranch down on purpose.
Oh,
I hope that video comes
Yeah,
forward.
It's a really deep ring of corruption here. We actually ended up finding the judge Gretzky out here, Steve Gretzky, or
Grasty, I think. Yeah.
his brother works for the BLM. So it is some very interesting special interest and conflict of interest connections going on. Really, the sheriff, I don't believe he's not a bad man, but I don't think he's necessarily a good man either, because a good man would have stood for the Constitution and said, you're not taking it.
Well, we had a
He should have
discussion
stood his
with,
ground, but instead, and he tells everybody that if the FBI or the feds were to come in here to grab everybody's guns, they tell them ain't gonna happen, but yet he called them in.
well, we had a
Really
discussion with,
minute situation, because we're
right.
not down here destroying property, we're not burning things down. A lot of us are unarmed. I'm unarmed, so it's more of we're actually cleaning the building. There's Indian artifacts here, or Native American artifacts, where the BLM has left them in piles of rat poop. So, but the media has been terrible to us, has demonized us, and started this big disinformation campaign. And it was so bad, it caused my family and this local area to try to come in and kidnap my kids.
Tell us about that.
We're not exactly sure
Really?
what happened, because we left them in trusted care of our nanny, who was always taking good care of our children when I had to go out of town and Melissa was at work. This is the first time we've been out of town together, but the kids were fine. They were going to school. They were never in any danger whatsoever. And we got a phone call that CPS came to take them. And supposedly they got a temporary court order and say we were going to have visitation. And they were going to take them completely, but my brother-in-law took them so they didn't have to go into like some kind of temporary foster care. This was all done behind our back. We were never served any papers. We were never contacted. The deputies The sheriff department and the Chino Valley Police Department would not speak to us, and the lady at CPS would not call us back that night. We were terrified of what was going on with our children. So here you have children who are safe and sound, not in any danger, and an armed men and a court system that's unconstitutional because there was no due process. You can't deprive people of life, liberty, and property under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution without due process. And under the law, children are defined as property. They're my property, they're my children, they have no right to them, period. So my wife did drive down there, took the kids back with militia and said, we basically told CPS, you're not taking the kids.
Okay, so she went down there and you stayed
at least
here.
without due process.
Okay.
And so we have the children, they're safe, and they will not go to CPS. There, we will continue to take care of our children. We've been very good to our children. And they were basing it off of this. And
Yeah, we heard the FBI was actually there with CPS to get the children.
Yes, that the FBI was involved and that they were coaching and telling people don't say nothing. And they were like a gag order, so they didn't give us in. We were scared to death. We were like, where is our children? And so we ended up tracking them down, finding out, and it was just a mess. He literally came and kidnapped them right out of my house. A legalized kidnapping, and which is not legal at all. Kidnapping is kidnapping.
Yes.
And,
How
so
old are the children?
8 and 9 years old, 2 beautiful girls. Always been there for them, and they based it upon what was happening here. And from what I understand now, they put in the report that we're up here hanging around a bunch of crazy guys with machine guns and blah blah blah, rocket launchers.
Oh, so they've come up here to see that,
And I
huh?
was like, hey, why don't you take a drive and find out what's going on? My dad texted me and called me a terrorist. my mom called Bundy a crazy cult leader from the Mormon Church, and I went, none of that's true. I said, have you even talked to the man?
Yes.
Well, no. Well, why are you judging him? You know, in the Bible it says, thou shalt not judge and love thy neighbor as thyself. And there's a lot of hate coming across this country because they refuse to take the time to understand. And we have this big problem in America where we want to believe this mainstream media right-left paradigm, and whatever they say is true, and it's not true
It's
at
not
all.
true.
Mainstream media wants people to die. They want a shootout. They want a big confrontation.
Well, that makes for ratings.
Exactly, and it sells. And right after they show you a clip of a bunch of people dying, they'll say, here, buy these products. It's sick. And so that was actually in the CPS report, all this stuff, and we're like, that's not true. And so and naturally we denied it. I did leave a message with the CPS lady that if you don't leave my children alone, the gloves are off, and we'll file lawsuits left and right, because you had no right to go under without due process to take my children. And they really don't. CPS is an agency. It's unconstitutional. It should not exist. And actually, Arizona has a class action lawsuit right now going against CPS of the legalized kidnapping. A lot of times these kids will end up in sex trafficking and human trafficking rings. There was one case I remember with really good parents. They took good care of their kids. They worked, but because they smoked pot, they snatched the kids out of the house and gave them to foster care. I think the child was 4 or 5 years old, and the foster parent kicked the kid down a flight of stairs and killed them. Oh, these are common cases that never get exposed because they don't want the dirt to come out because they want to get their federal funding. And so as long as they're getting this federal funding and the special interest groups and lobbyists and everybody else to big business to kidnap kids by the state out of people's homes, they're going to continue to do it. And that's why it's so imperative we as a people stand up to them, united, and say, enough's enough. Yeah, I get it, we want to protect children. But from what my experiences with CPS, they do more damage than good. And for example, my nephew and my wife's sister had a son, and we took care of him. CPS got involved, and the parents were highly into drugs, heroin, needles, you name it, just terrible. And they did everything they could to get them back into the parents' custody. But here's good American people who don't, we don't do drugs. We take.
You just ticked off the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Exactly. And so, well, you're white and you don't deserve to have your children. That's kind of how I took it. And
Blessings on you and your family.
yeah, I'm starting to feel like it's
Bye, darling.
it's a cutthroat system where you have no say, and I refuse to contract.
Mhm.
And so that's what happened. And so we got our children now, and they will not.
Have you spoken to the girls?
Yes.
Yeah. Are they okay? Have they been?
Oh yeah, they're in the safest place in the world. A lot safer than they would be.
They must have been scared, you know, and that's.
Oh yeah, I mean, wouldn't you be scared if you're a
Well,
kid and somebody
absolutely.
comes and snatches you out of a home? You know how many reports of foster kids come forward or mortified later in life? You know, the stories and the horrors that they tell, wishing that they were back with their parents, but because somebody in society didn't agree with the certain way they lived their life. Now it's if you're a constitutionalist or if you carry a firearm, CPS wants to take your kids. So you're really seeing that liberal agenda starting to come out, this brainwashing system that deprives people of everything based upon a certain group, which is wrong. We're supposed to protect the rights of the people, minority, which would be of any race. And so under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, kick rocks.
Well, I have to tell you, I was really impressed that you didn't go all ballistic on them. I think I might have.
Yeah, I was very angry. I was at the point to where I wanted to hurt people.
Mhm.
Messing with my children is messing with the deepest parts of my heart. And
It's like an unwritten rule for everybody else that the families are
the
exempt.
emotional stress it put me through just in those couple of days, it was like getting stabbed in the back. It was a horrible, helpless feeling that somebody was going to try to steal my kids.
How's your wife doing?
She's doing good.
Is she?
And
Good.
she said it's not going to happen.
Is she still down there with them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they probably need her right now.
Right, and see, this is the thing too, because it's based upon this media hype. This is why they wanted to take my kids. Everybody that's been here knows. Everybody's been peaceful. It's been a great, one of the best spiritual experiences in my life. Another thing they put in there because I'm gone in the movement a lot. I've been to Bundy Ranch standoff, Sugar Pine Mine operation, Big Sky this. I chase drug cartel on the border. And so I do a lot of stuff in the Patriot movement, so I'm gone a lot. And it's costing me everything. I've lost everything I own. I'm losing my house. You know, it was a big financial impact to me and my wife. But the Constitution of my country means so much to me that I was willing to lose everything to at least try to get some of it back. And it hasn't been easy. It's been hard on my kids, but I've always, other than that, I've always been there for my children, and they've always been in good hands, and they've never been in any danger. The only time they've been in danger was when they send the strong arms of the state with weapons to kidnap people's children. Now, if I were to do that, what would they call me? Terrorist, kidnapper? And it's funny how there's the status quo in our country where whatever the government does is right. They believe this facade of reality that police officers are always right, the government's always right, and we're never told to question their authority. Well, I refuse to be a slave, and my kids will not be slaves, and I will resist tyranny, and that's absolutely tyranny at every corner, and peacefully, and legally, and if that fails, then I'll defend my force if I have to.
Well, we had a discussion with a gentleman this morning. Nice man, older man. He was of the firm belief that the FBI has come in and stripped the sheriff of all his powers. He said they're talking about it in town, he cannot stand up and do anything for anybody because the FBI has taken total control of this town. You want to respond to that? I mean, obviously that's not true.
The sheriff's the highest elected official in the land. So technically, they cannot strip any power from the sheriff. All the sheriff has to do is tell the FBI, pound sand. Now, either they got some dirt on him and he's scared and doesn't want to be exposed. Maybe that's why, or maybe he really believes what he's doing is right. But I think the general consensus in the community here is get the feds out of here. The sheriff can handle this himself. We're not violent. We're not threatening anybody. Actually, there were some reports that there was people being followed around and things like this. We actually found out it was the FBI. There's a poll in the community now. They got a little pool who can spot as many feds as they can because they've been running their plates and found out that they're registered with the government, FBI, undercover FBI agents.
That's
The
funny.
fire chief up there just resigned. I don't know if you saw that because
Mhm.
there was FBI posing as militia trying to go into an armory. Why they were there, it's kind of strange. And were they going to blow something up and blame it on us? We don't know. I'm not trying to be conspiratory, but the point is, it is very strange that they did that. And God bless the man that came forward and resigned, doing the right thing, exposing it. Because the only people terrorizing anybody right now is the sheriff and the feds, the law enforcement.
Did you hear about the
35 miles away from town.
right? Did you hear about the school board and all the resignations they're having on there?
Yes.
Some people are trying to connect that with what's going on out here. From what I've found, I haven't seen the connection, but even in the paper, the chairman of the board brought up the situation out here, so they are still trying to connect it. Let me come over here like this.
I think. You're somewhere else, dude. You're right in the middle of Grand Central Station.
Do you know anything about any of that? The school stuff? Do you know anything about any of
No, I
that?
don't know anything about the school stuff. Now, I know they locked down the school, but I think they did that to put their community in the fear to demonize us. I think it was it's a military tactic, really, and it's a psyop to basically show that we're just dangerous people out here. And everybody that's been out here knows that we've been nice, kind, peaceful.
Mhm.
And the only reason a lot of people around here are armed is because of places like Ruby Ridge and Waco, where the FBI and other federal agencies have been known to murder people when they don't get their way.
Yesterday they had a big to-do thinking something was going to happen out here. Have y'all gotten any more information on all of that?
No, just from what I heard from Pete Santelli and some other sources, I haven't really confirmed or know anything. I don't think it would be a smart move for the FBI to come out here and attack us and try to kill us because we're not harming anybody. They would do more harm than good, and really there's no point for them to be here. We didn't come here to terrorize anybody. We came here to get an injustice corrected, and to shed light to a BLM corruption that's been going on the entire western half of the United States, burning down homes, mine claims and cabins, terrorizing people. We saw what they did at the Bundy Ranch when we were looking down rifle barrels with a kill order. And so the government, to me, is nothing more than a bunch of schoolyard thugs anymore. They use the system to their own benefit. The House always wins, and the people who get screwed are me and you.
I got a quote from somebody that Sheriff Ward has said at this point, nobody out here has actually committed any federal crime. Even trespassing wasn't brought up.
Because one, it's public land, and two, all the buildings were open. The keys were all set right there. So and because it's a public building and public land, and there is no trespassing signs, we haven't broken any laws. Now, if we were breaking down doors and burning buildings down like we have seen in some of the Ferguson riots and stuff, then yeah, that's wrong. But that's not what we're here to do. This is more of just, I guess you could call it the modern day Tea Party. The Tea Party, I don't think a lot of people remember history too much, but it was preemptive, where patriots went armed onto a British ship and threw the tea overboard. And there was a big standoff there between them and the British. And the shot heard around the world didn't happen yet, but that's what happened. And that was preemptive to say, and that was over a 2% tax on tea. How the American people continue to go along with this and not take a stand in defiance to say we're not going to let you put a boot on our face anymore is beyond me. The control and power of the federal government is so vague and so vast that it does make it hard to fight against it legally.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not going to win in court. And that's why it's so imperative you come and make these stands this way to get them to listen to our voice. We're asking you. we've got to stop. We have got to reverse gears in this country, change course. And but you don't see that yet. No matter who we elect into office, whether it's Bush, Clinton, I mean, we've had a long train of abuses and usurpations from many presidents, and I would almost argue for the last 100 years. We elect them in, and they continue to grow the arms of government, whether it's a Democratic or a Republican form of it, and a constitutional form of it. Really, if a president was constitutional, you'd have to abolish 98% of federal government.
Well, I listened to Chris Ann last night, and she made a lot of really good points. I hope a lot of people heard her.
Yeah.
That might wake a bunch of them up. Can I ask you about the antiquities that the Paiute tribe is kind of upset over? Do you know anything about that?
They've reached out to the Ammon, and we've always come here and even stand with us. Now, there was some of their effects, their artifacts
Mm-hmm.
that were actually, the BLM had left them in a basement full of rat poop and covered in cobwebs. The government did a horrible job taking care of their artifacts. And then we've offered to clean them up and give them back to them because it does belong. They are the rightful owners of those.
Would we be able to go take a look at some of them?
I think so. You can get a hold of Fennekin. He knows where they're at.
Okay.
I think he wanted me to film it and document it.
Well, we'll take you down there and take.
But I don't know where it's at exactly.
Okay.
But we wanted to expose that so the Paiutes could see
Mm-hmm.
what the BLM thinks about their sacred items, and they are sacred items. They should be treated with respect. And I hope Paiutes can find a little tenderness in their heart, that we're not going to destroy their.
They do seem to be.
They need to go back to them.
They have surprised us with so much of their liberal agenda. That does surprise us greatly with any of the Native American tribes.
Right. I mean, I would tell the Native Americans, look what the U.S. government did to you and your land, and look what they're doing to all of us. And this isn't a Native American problem now. This is an American problem abroad. And so, if we're going to fix that, we need to stand together. We need to put away that racial divide. And what do they want? I mean, the federal government has been oppressing the natives for a very long time, but they don't mind taking money from them. And stop taking money from them. You don't need nothing from the federal government. You have plenty of land out there to use, and have your own way of life. You don't need the government's help. But as long as you take money from them and you contract with them, you become slaves to them. It's a modern day version of servitude.
Sorry, I get these notices popped up here, and I have to make sure it's not because I've done something wrong on the video. How we doing, Mike? We still good? Okay. Tell us what else has been happening up here at
Adam's been meeting with a lot of ranchers, helping educate them on their constitutional rights and the way actually how the federal government was originally supposed to operate in our country, which is a good thing if you guys ever get a chance to sit on and have them explain how our government was actually originally supposed to work. A lot of the way I look at it, like everybody in the U.S. has been brainwashed to believe that the system that we have in place now is how it was always supposed to be. It wasn't. This is not what the founders wanted at all.
Right.
And it's just becoming more and more and more. And until we people against this.
All right, we lost speed. Stand by. I'll get it back here in just a sec.
What the media tells you to believe.
Absolutely.
I think that's the problem with all of us, we're so attached to social media and what we see on that screen rather than in person and know the individual who they are. And that's what I think is the biggest key in all of this is now that we've exposed it, and we're actually the community, whether some of them hate us or some of them like us, is coming together. And I think God's going to do a mighty work here because of that. And it lets us be able to become a people again. The original Facebook was a group of people hanging out by the fire in a campground. You know, not in a dark room in a basement eating Cheetos. It's a great tool now because it gives us the ability to fight back against some of this stuff without having to have this big war and people dying and bloodshed. But we can do it peacefully and expose it in a way that we never had a chance before because back then the media controlled all the information. And the authorities would always put the narrative, and whatever the authorities would say, they would believe. But what we find out is the authorities are the ones who are corrupt. And
Pardon me. Brett, would you see if there's a bottle of water there for me?
and
They've always been so kind on that before.
people see that because we have the powers of social media. We can upload videos of atrocities that have been committed by the government and say, this is not okay. And it doesn't seem really to be a good check and balance system to hold these people accountable, whether it be with law enforcement or up the federal government. And if they're allowed to have absolute power, power corrupts, absolute power will corrupt absolutely, and then they will use the power to destroy everyone. We can't allow that. We have to bring balance back. We have to bring a balance of power back where we hold these people accountable. Otherwise, it will just need to become more corrupt. We need men to be brave once again and to unite people together. And when you're united, nothing can stop you. It's the division that destroys you, the individualism. And we're really to love our neighbor as ourselves.
Well, I tell you what, I haven't found any rednecks up here. Everybody seems to be focused on is that kind of a requirement? They need to be studied up on that before they
Yeah, I would say before you have any movement, go to any kind of standoff situation or whatever, and this isn't a standoff here, this is just a peaceful, I guess, a peaceful armed protest, if you want to call it that. Even the White House classified us as demonstrators.
Really?
Yes, which was shocking.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one.
But I guess maybe because they don't call terrorists, and they couldn't really use that label on us.
I don't know. They've called a lot of conservative people domestic terrorists.
They
You know.
do. It seems like if you have a constitution and you have a political viewpoint of a republic form of government, which I don't think we have, but it's not structured the way it was originally supposed to be used. For example, the federal government was supposed to protect from outside forces, foreign affairs, and was never supposed to come down in the county or states to prosecute anybody. That's wrong. Actually, if you're going to be charged with a crime, it has to be with the jury of your peers. That has to be at county level. We got 3 different forms of constitution now. We have a constitution, which says this is the supreme law of the land, the original document of founders gave us. But then you have judicial constitution, which was case law, and because of case law, it usurped our regular Constitution codes and regulations. And those are not those are legal, but they're not lawful under the Constitution because anything that's not constitutional is therefore null and void. It's not written there, then it shouldn't be a law. And so, I would encourage representatives and other people of different states who are in positions of power to think about that for a second and maybe even start legislation to get these laws off the book. Because all it's doing is enslaving people. We're enslaving our own people. There's more people in prison in America than anywhere else in the world combined. You got a real problem, big business, and we need to start limiting this power so people can be free.
Oh, absolutely. I have I'm not done studying the Constitution. I've been studying it for years, and I just seem to learn something new every single time I pick it up.
It's kind of like the Bible.
It is,
And that's
yeah.
how you know that God ordained it. I mean, these were revered men in Christ. Some, not all of them were, but people certainly looked to a higher power who gave us a beautiful form of government. But they said if you can keep it. And our complacency and our refusal to stand in opposition to it, to say, no, you're not going to do that. That's against our way of government and constitution. We've allowed it to go on for so many years, and now it's become an monstrosity. And people are like, what do you do? And sometimes you might have to take that hard step, maybe resign from your federal government position. I'm not going to work for them. But you're never going to cut the head off the snake. And that's why it's so imperative that people go county to county, sheriff to sheriff, and kick the federal government out. It's that simple. And then that's where the militia comes in. If a sheriff stands against it and needs help, the militia will come and enforce and defend them from the federal government.
I heard that there's been a call for more people to come up here. Is
Yes,
that?
yes. We encourage more people to come up here. And we ask that people come with a calm, cool, clear head. And this isn't a war zone, but we do need the presence. Because what's being exposed here could put our lives in danger because of how deep it goes. And as we know in history, the government loves to try to cover their tracks up. And they firebombed cities. They've look what they did to the African American people. I guess you could say we're the Rosa Parks of our day, and so we do need them there because it is a form of defense and protection for us and the ranchers, because the ranchers want to be able to ranch without being oppressed, and so we need to be in defense for them as well.
We heard about the arrest the other day in town, gentleman at Safeway. Now, was there a second arrest? We heard something.
There was just one. I'm not aware of a second arrest.
Okay.
And the gentleman was told by all of us to not. We all told the gentleman, we said, do not drive it into town. And so by his own accord, he didn't listen to us. And all the vehicles here have been reported stolen. And so if you're driving on the road, you're going to get.
Well, that brings up the question of
when you're still to that, these vehicles belong to Harding County.
Right. No, I was going to tie that into your call for more people to come up. Are there certain requirements that you would like to see followed before they come up, such as no felons or something along that?
Right. Be here for the right reasons, the Constitution. I really don't care what their past is, if they're a felon or a misdemeanor, as long as they come and they're lawful and useful. I think too much in this country, we look at somebody's past and we used it against them. We'd be like, oh, you're this and that, and we're very judgmental. Just because somebody has a bad past doesn't mean they have to change their life. I'm not the same person I was 8 or 10 years ago. And so I'm not going to judge somebody. If somebody wants to come and serve with the right intention.
Well, felons, for the most part, can't be around weapons. And could that put your situation here in jeopardy?
I would say the Constitution says shall not be. Okay. Think about how many people who are felons who are not dangerous, who are not violent people, who have had their rights taken from them. The Declaration of Independence states that they're unalienable rights. They were never, you do your time, you get them back. And that's how I believe that it was originally put in place. But we have this fascist paper trail now that follows people around. Their past comes back and haunts them. They can't get jobs. Their lives are destroyed. So what do? They resort to more crime. We don't help them. We make it worse by doing this. Now, I'll draw the line at sex offenders, people who
hurt somebody,
children, and things like that, or somebody who's a repeat offender, walking into stores and putting guns in people's mouths. We don't want those type of people. But I understand.
Do you have a way to vet them before they get here?
Yeah, we'll ask them.
And everybody's so honest, right?
We're actually pretty honest here.
We've got them pretty good. If they're, I run a Facebook check on them. If they're on Facebook and they have a history, that's, that's
Right,
guaranteed.
right. And so
Okay.
now if they have a felony that they got, 2 months ago, but we can't.
You do your best, but you can't
do our best
guarantee
to
it.
keep the right people in here. We do that, and obviously, if somebody comes in here, we don't think we're in the right state of mind. It's probably,
We can figure them out.
Sure.
but we don't judge. And Christ tells us to judge. And he says,
Do you ask for just Christians or?
if Christians want to come, that'd be great.
No, I'm asking what you're requesting.
We have to see.
I don't care. I don't care if they're African American, Chinese, Jew, Gentile. It don't matter to me. If they believe in rights, unalienable rights, and what our family's given us and the Constitution, and they have the passion to stand for that. That's the people. As long as they're willing to do it in love, truth, and peace. The firearms are there to defend that, not to offensively attack or destroy anybody. That's not what we are here to make our voices heard. And in history, when you do it that way, they have killed. It would be rich. They killed a woman, holding a child, and a 14-year-old boy over the railway.
Mhm.
So shall not be infringed. It was illegal what they did. In the end, that guy got some money and found out that he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, but that's little consolation to them, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
when you stand up to the bully, that is a possibility of that happening. And you might have to fight to defend him, but in a defensive way. Never fire the first shot.
And that's the stance here, isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
You make them the bad guy. We're not the bad guy. We're the good guy.
Mhm.
But if they come in here and offensively try to murder us, well, then we're going to defend ourselves like everybody else. Especially if we're not doing anything. Like you
Mhm.
said, we're not committing any crime.
Mhm. I think so. Even the sheriff has said that.
Yeah, a lot of us, we didn't come here to commit crimes or terrorize people. I certainly didn't miss Christmas with my kids. And to come out here and have my life destroyed by media, to come up here and make a stand for the Constitution for the heck of it, I think it means a lot. Because I know if this precedent is set here, and we don't take the stand, what future is going to be left for my kids?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if they want a ranch someday and they burn a little bit of grass in their field? I mean, they burn grass.
Mm-hmm.
How absurd is that to call somebody a terrorist? Nobody was hurt. There was no destruction of property. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think they sent any resources to put out the fire. Now we're finding out now they actually sent people to ignite the try to burn.
Really? Can you tell us more about that?
Other than the fact that we had eyewitnesses come forward and watch the.
Yeah. Do you have anything other than? Do you have any documents or?
They do, and they're getting that.
Okay.
I don't know when they'll have that. But
Understand.
a lot of people have been threatened by the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure their lives have been threatened.
There is discussion of that throughout about half the town.
Yeah.
So that town's pretty divided right now.
People are scared.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that people don't want us to stand. People are afraid to stand.
Mm-hmm.
And they want us to go, but we know if we go, it's just going to end up back in the hands of evil people who want to destroy. We can't allow that. And I was asked last night by somebody, they said, this isn't glorifying God. And I said, how is it not? You believe God wants corruption to continue? Is he not a just God? Should it not be exposed and they be holy? He goes, yeah. Do you think that would have been exposed if we didn't? It wouldn't have.
Mike, do you have anything? Hawk, are you there? But Blaine here has been so awesome with us for a while. I thought I'd let him get up and walk around. I'm going to try and get his help to find a boy. Huh? So I was going to ask Blaine here if he would help us find LaVoy and maybe get a look at the antiquities.
Yeah, that would be awesome because And I wanted to point out, anybody that's familiar with YouTube knows who Old Marine is, and he gave us a rather significant plug last night, and we're getting a lot of people they're happy that we're there, getting the story instead of making the news, and you're getting a lot of acclaim for how well you're doing.
Yeah, I think last night.
I think you should mention too, because you're probably not going to get this from mainstream media. Even though the town's divided, half of them asked us.
I've actually heard that.
And then there's some that want us to leave as well.
Well-
But again, the people that want us to leave, deep down don't want us to leave, because they do want justice. They want the Hammond vote. And we were told by Steve Grasky last night, the only reason they're not letting the Hammonds out was because of us. We said, "Well, hostage, are you?"
Really? Yeah, we recorded that whole meeting
I
and
think that has nothing.
yeah.
I think they would not even let Hammond have.
I'm having a real hard time hearing him at this point.
Steve
Okay.
Grasky was running them, and I told him, doesn't he get a chance to defend himself? At that point,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think if those people in the crowd were to come down and talk with Hammond, they'd think of them in a different line.
I'm sure they would. I'm absolutely sure.
Have you seen Lavoy around? Lavoy Finnegan, cowboy? Glasses?
Teaching to, or who's?
No, that's Hammond.
Oh, that, no, not that. We know Hammond.
Hammond and Ryan Lavoy.
You guys want some coffee? There's fresh pot in there. And there's some sugar and half, like
Is Hammond in his office right now?
up in the sink.
I don't know where he's at.
He's still
He might be
sitting
the
over here a little bit.
Might be the conference.
That's where he was going a while ago.
So that's.
I'd try there first, probably.
Right there, like that.
Is there a restroom?
Yeah, right behind you. Right there.
Rest on, brother.
Well, we have been trying. We came up and got interviews with several people over the weekend. And I wrote up how it's amazing. Everybody out here is so polite, kind, and open. The transparency out here is just amazing.
We want no one else. People in the community and want their land. It's
Mhm.
their resource center.
Well, it's night and day, the difference out here, and it actually makes me feel safer here. Actually, it's kind of odd, isn't it?
And so, we've been, polite, right?
Yeah, it's like having a whole bunch of Southern boys here. Everybody's so polite.
Along with what you were just saying there, I just watched a video of Emery. He's a journalist, news guy, and he was just now last night trying to interview an FBI agent outside of their compound. No comment. I mean, kind of talked for a little bit at first, gave him a constitution, but that's what you always get. No comment. Here, it's very transparent. We talk.
Mhm.
We'll talk with you. Talk with you all day long.
I've never had anybody say no, they won't talk to me up here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The thing
that's
is,
what's-
when people are always saying no comment, they got something to hide. Now they're in fear for their jobs, and that's not America.
Or they're not
That's
giving
not
a comment
transparent.
because the media just does nothing but bash them. And we get a lot of that up here, but we still try to talk with them, be nice to them, and be honest with them. The agendas at the mainstream media are pretty terrible.
Well, if we can help get your story out, we're going to do that. And actually, from what I understand, the analytics last night on the meeting that Judge Grasty held, we had well over 1 million viewers, and we've had a lot of good response.
Good.
So these videos are making a difference. So we're going to try and keep going as much as we can.
Where the big numbers was the audio. We had 1,000 on YouTube watching, and then of course over on the radio station we were recasting there, and it was just my servers were full. So
That's good news.
Were you at the Christiane Hall one?
Yes.
And those were outstanding.
She's such a positive speaker. She can work up a crowd like crazy.
Yeah, she's perfect. getting that information out, presents it in such a unique way,
Mhm.
and but so motivating at the same time. I got to shake her hand, so that was, and I got to meet her, but she was busy, had to get out of it. It was really
She
cool to
did
see.
teach a lot of people in this town things that they could do, because one of the comments we were getting is, I'm just one person. You know, they don't realize that the local level is where they need to start.
Right. Like, everybody in this country, take back your county. You know, if you got an unconstitutional sheriff, put somebody in there who will.
Well, I feel real blessed because our sheriff is Daryl Wheeler, and I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's Bonner County, Idaho, and he's come out several times in support of.
Is that the one where
He stood with the
the
vet.
FBI is trying to come
We
in
were
and
there
take
filming that
guns?
one too.
That was awesome.
Yes, and we've been real
Here's
blessed
the
with
thing
him.
about Sheriff. It was funny. They tell me one. Told us that he believes in sex. That a lot of the feds. But if you won't kick them out now,
Yeah,
why would you not kick them out when?
Yeah.
I think his heart's in the right place. His fortitude is.
maybe he just doesn't understand. He was appointed, not elected, and maybe there were some strings on that one. Maybe you know,
No, I do know that he's a lot better than the last sheriff.
really.
The last sheriff, I guess the last sheriff, something about a fire and 40, and the evidence locked 40 pounds of cocaine. So,
That would have been a fun story to cover.
Small town, and here you go.
Yeah.
But this county has a lot of good people,
Mhm.
even people who don't like us, we still extend our hand to them. And I think, you know,
That's me.
My voice carries sometimes.
we have to redo the whole interview.
No, no.
Is it?
It might be, yeah.
Do you find the air up here a little drier than normal? That's
Well,
why
it's been cold, but it's been, we got a lot of moisture, so. It rained.
Yeah. Some reason though, it hits me like it's real dry. We brought today's paper. I don't know if you've seen it, but this is a real good example of the mainstream media.
And how they demonize.
Yeah, they do, because every article on the front, with the exception of this gentleman here, is all about trashing what's going on up here.
Mhm.
You know, in one way or another. And there's
That's how you
One,
know when your
two,
cause
three.
is right.
exactly. But it's
That's
a
the
pretty
Bible
good.
verse. Jesus said, "You'll be hated of all nations for my name's sake." Why?
Well,
Because people don't want the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is hard to accept. It's easier to believe a lie and live in slavery than it is to tell the truth and expose it and come out from the bonds and chains that have been set. It's scary. It's fearful. And that's why Jesus said, or the Bible says 365 times, fear not. Does it not? It says that. So it is for one day of every, or fear not for every day of the year. And so that fear inside us is what destroys things. The fear inside us is what brings about calamity. You got to take fear out of your heart. Fear brings anger. Fear brings worry, and it destroys lives. You don't have to be afraid. Jesus says, "I can be bold and put a spirit in my heart, and I can speak up, stand against injustice, but at the same time uphold justice." And you see that with the fear. A lot of people here are so afraid to either speak out, or what is the government going to do to me if I do?
mm-hmm.
It's slavery in the highest order. It's tyranny in the highest order. It's some of the people's eyes I've looked into, seen it, and I want to weep for them. It's hard to hear because they don't have to live like that. And people don't realize the power they have when they come together to say, "Enough's enough. Leave us alone."
Yeah, it's a very powerful message.
That's why the militia is so powerful. The militia is not any group, all of us, one. Our neighbors, we get together as neighbors. Our rights are being violated, we come together as a whole and say, "Bye, you're done here." It's that easy. But it's hard to get to that. We're so in tune, it's not my problem, but it will be soon.
Yeah, there's the old poem, they came for, I don't remember, I can't quote it, but I know it. They came for this group. I didn't help because I wasn't part of that group. They came for the next group. I didn't help because I wasn't part of that group. But by the time they came for me, there was nobody left to help me.
Right, right. I've noticed a lot with the mainstream media too. Some of the questions that we were getting thrown at us, like, what group are you with? Or what militia are you with? You're like, I'm just pissed off America. Just like everyone else in this country. Black Lives Matters group, I mean, we're all angry.
Mm-hmm.
But we all got to find a way to come together in the right cause or in the right way. And we can get it back. If Egypt could unite Christians and Muslims, which is, I don't even know how that happened, but they did it. And they rose together with almost 38 million people in Egypt and throughout Morocco. They did it. And they didn't have any firearms when they did it. So it can be done. It's just an excuse if you think it can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
I say let it move across the whole nation. Let us all come together. Why can't we have 40 million people on the White House doorstep? You're evicted. You're done.
That would be
We clean house. Every single building, every single thing. We light the tax code on fire. And we reestablish our
Oh my
Republican
goodness, they would
Empire.
elect you president if you could do that.
But I mean, that's what I don't understand. You got these powerful agencies. These are what I would want to limit. These are what I would get rid of if I was president. I find it highly unusual why I would need the FBI or the NSA or the CIA or the DEA. The CIA and DEA were the biggest cocaine smugglers for crying out loud in the 80s and 90s. They're more into arms trafficking now. It's fast and furious.
Mm-hmm.
And so why do we need these agencies? Why do we think we need this for our security? Because it doesn't keep us secure. If anything, it's destroying our own people. It's not. Look at who they consider terrorists now. It's you.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
If I
And
hold the Constitution, wave an American flag, I'll be lucky I don't get drone strike. And that's not right. That's got to stop. And if I was president, which would be an act of God, because I don't have banks and corporations lying in my pocket, it'd be really easy to end. Just nobody wants to take that step because they're so dependent. Private industry would do way better.
so do people up here get actively involved in political elections and stuff? You just made me think
You
of
mean
it.
the community?
Well, in
Or
general.
the people that are here with us? I
Yeah.
think everybody's very politically inclined that just showed up, but I think a lot of that's good with social media and YouTube. We're able to educate people in a way we never could before. Instead of going to one source to get our information, college, we can go to websites and people who've done write-ups on the Constitution and get a general idea of how our government used to work, which was beautiful, and how it's been flipped 180, and it's terrible. It really is just a shark eating itself, and it'd be really easy to fix if one were so inclined, and if the American people could pull their head and lift that veil of slavery and go, "Wait, I don't have to put up with it. Why do we need this big government stuff?"
Yeah.
You live in a system where you don't have to vote for it, but you do.
Yeah.
I blame a lot of that too, though, on TV programming. How many TV shows have you seen with law enforcement or FBI or different TV program out there, and they're always violating people's rights, but it's always in a negative fashion to the citizen and never to government. It's TV program. They're trying to program you to think a certain way. But they're always right, and you cannot question authority ever. See, the Bible tells us to be subject, but it didn't tell us to be slaves either. I think there's a fine balance between power and the citizen. And I think Jesus said it best, and the master is not above his servant. friends. We, the people, are the government, not this entity,
Well, we're supposed to be.
overlord that destroys people's lives.
You have been so awesome. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking this much time with us. This has been great.
Yeah,
Now I'm going to ask you to help me find my boy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want
Good
to
luck.
get
Who
one.
does like the ghost?
Yeah.
He's got the prototype cowboy.
But he's such a great guy. I enjoyed talking with him
He
the
had
other
his kids
day.
taken from him. He was Washington.
Did he really? I hadn't heard that.
He believes it was pressure from the governor of Arizona.
Is that just been since you've been here?
Mhm. It's in the Daily Courier. They did a report for us.
Oh, did they? Well,
Because they came to me and was asking me about my kids, and I said, we've done nothing wrong to get our kids taken away from us. I said, this is all, I blame the media for setting the programming that we're a bunch of evil people sitting here unarmed, eating snacks. Stephen Corbera did a report on me. So Blaine Cooper needs snacks.
yeah, I heard about that.
And that was John Ritzheimer's fault. I let him use my Facebook account. Hey, let everybody know to send us some stuff. So but I mean, we've been pretty well taken.
Now, is there
Our
anything
food provided.
particular that y'all are low on? I heard them made Bibles and New Testaments and stuff.
Yeah, it says Bibles, food.
What's the version of your whiteboard?
Yeah, we can use whiteboards.
No, can I get a brush to it?
Of course. We
Yeah,
can use
food.
radios. I think we can use more
I
radios.
got radios.
Can we get radios?
I got radios.
So that's all.
How about things like toilet paper? I mean, a lot of people don't think about
Yeah,
that, but
kind, we got quite a bit of, I would say right now.
People are
water
bringing
and
in.
I'd say water and food.
And
We're going through a
locals,
lot of
ranchers have been bringing us elk meat, and it's great. And there's some really awesome people in this county, and I'm glad to have met them. But I would, like last night at the high school, I saw a lot of hate,
yeah,
and then they were claiming Christianity,
yeah.
and I was like, the hatred you show outsiders is not Christianity, because you've judged us before you had.
But it's got to be hard on a small town
It
that's
is,
not
and I get
used
I get
to
it.
airing their laundry, so to speak.
I get it, and I hope that they can try to break that veil too, even though they may not. Some people may not like it. Because here, come on and meet us. We're just like you. We're fed up. We're all fed up. We're no different than you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in town, and I've asked them if they've been out here, and they're like, "Well, I'm not sure if I should."
Right.
You know, so
But
you know,
there's no roadblocks, and there's
right?
bunch
They're
of
just still
crazy stuff
afraid.
going on.
They're just still afraid.
Yep, I
So
know. But we could definitely use the help, and we hope more people will come, and we can find a way to find a solution to the problem. And I think they got a pretty good solution worked out.
you didn't sign it, dear. So this is your verse board. I want to take a look at here. See if we can get some of these up here. Can you see any of that, Mike? Oh, not me. I don't do any talking. Don't worry. I was just trying to show some of the verses on the whiteboard that they've been writing up there and didn't know if you could see them or not.
Read some of it off for you, actually.
Yeah, go right ahead. Come on up here.
Be bigger than what happens to you. There's nothing you can do about the spirit or about the spilled milk. Sorry. Understanding this is what separates the men from the boys. And I put one up there. God bless the brave men who, against all odds, stood for freedom, running into danger and almost certain death, and stood firm and won their liberty.
And then Brett just put one up there.
And all things work together for good to them that love God, to those that are called according
Into his spirit.
unto his spirit.
Yeah.
And I tell you, we had a church
You want to see
service.
the kind of post?
We had a church service here. It was the most heartfelt,
For 2016,
best service
no history at all.
have I ever been in. And I've been to a lot of churches, and just to see people come together from all over the nation
I always
and
look and
unite
see
in
if in my
love and
history,
truth
see what kind of
and
friends
under
they've
Christ
got.
rather than
It's just.
Are you dominant out here with any particular religion, or
no.
is it a pretty good mix?
Yeah, they had like it was a non-denomination
Mhm.
service,
Yeah.
but the general consensus is Christ is at the center of it all.
Mhm.
And the Bible actually talks about that. It talks about everybody coming into the unity of Christ. And, you know, when he returns, that's how it's going to be. He says every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And I think you're starting to see that happening. I believe we've been under an evil form of evil like that we've never seen before. And God can only allow that to go on so long. And they're taking God out of the dollar and out of the Ten Commandments, and they're taking all this stuff out. And Christ said something about if nobody will praise him, the rocks themselves will cry out and praise him. And so there has to be a change. There has to be somebody who's going to take that step of faith and put Christ back in our country. We don't need a politician, we need a Christian.
They just know how to.
I absolutely agree with you very much. Thank you. I'm going to let you stand up and stretch. I'm sure you want to. Hop, we're going to get back to you. We're going to turn off for the moment. And we're going to go try and find Lavoy and see if we can't get a peek at those antiquities. Thank you.
All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back shortly. Just keep your eyes open. Stand by. We'll let 30-second buffer run through for the live stream, and then we'll be back on standby waiting for the next run with Lavoy.